Let's get right into this explainer breaking down Nepal's massive, heavily anticipated budget for the fiscal year 2083-84. That's 2026 to 2027. Finance Minister Dr. Swarnim Wagle just presented this to the federal parliament, and honestly, it is packed. We're talking ambitious targets, huge tax overhauls, and a major focus on good governance. So we're going to unpack exactly what's inside and, more importantly, what it actually means for the country's economic future. Right out of the gate, Minister Wagle set a completely different tone. He actually ditched the traditional briefcase and walked in carrying a locally made Nepali paper notebook. Now, you might think, well, that's just a small detail, but it was a very intentional signal. It's a visual cue saying, hey, we are looking inward at domestic production and we're breaking away from the old, maybe outdated ways of doing things. To help make sense of this absolutely massive financial document, we've broken the whole thing down into 5 key pillars. We've got a 2 trillion rupee vision, money in your pocket, gutting the bureaucracy, building roads and healthcare, and finally, Nepal's digital frontier. Let's kick things off with Section 1, a 2 trillion rupee vision. You know, Nepal's fiscal footprint has just skyrocketed. If you look at the last decade, the national budget has basically doubled. Back in fiscal year 2073-74, it was sitting at 10.48 kharba. Fast forward to 2082-83, and it hit 19.64 kharba. That is an undeniable upward trajectory in national ambition and public spending. Though, as the finance minister rightly pointed out, while our expectations for development are unlimited, our resources, well, they're not. Building on that massive growth, the total budget for this upcoming 2026-27 fiscal year sits at a staggering 2.124 trillion rupees. Let that sink in. That's 21 kharba, 24 arba, 34 crore. It is literally a colossal figure, and it's aimed squarely at revitalizing the economy, juicing up the private sector, and drastically increasing capital spending. All right, let's move on to Section 2, which is probably what you care about most: money in your pocket. The big takeaway here is the sweeping tax overhaul. Take a look at this. The government actually slashed the maximum personal income tax rate from a pretty steep 39% all the way down to 29%. Plus, that super complicated 11-tier customs duty structure, gone. They've simplified it down to just 7 tiers. This is a direct, calculated move to encourage folks to pay their taxes without feeling like they're being punished for it. And the good news for your wallet definitely doesn't stop there. To really expand and stimulate the middle class, the personal income tax exemption limit has been completely doubled to a clean 1 million rupees. So if you make up to 1 million rupees a year, you are entirely exempt from personal income tax. It's a huge shift, designed to put disposable income right back into the hands of everyday citizens. What I find really fascinating here is how they're blending financial relief with a push for modernization. For instance, the government is literally going to reward you instantly at the checkout counter with a 10% VAT discount just for using digital payments. How cool is that? On top of that, excise duties on 360 everyday goods have been completely wiped out, civil servants are getting a well-deserved salary bump, and they're cleaning up all those scattered environmental fees by rolling them into one single unified green tax. Moving right along to Section 3, gutting the bureaucracy. Because look, delivering on a 2 trillion rupee promise absolutely requires a leaner government. Throwing money at a problem just doesn't work if the pipes are totally clogged with red tape. And Minister Wagle did not mince words here. He took direct aim at the vicious cycle of political instability and institutional stagnation. He boldly declared an end to the culture of dilly-dallying and the exploitation of state resources. He really framed this budget as a roadmap for absolute governance reform, not just a financial ledger. And he's backing up those strong words with serious action. A massive 31 redundant government bodies are being entirely scrapped. They are aggressively trimming the fat. Basically, if an institution isn't pulling its weight or is just duplicating someone else's work, it's out. On top of that purge, 18 more government bodies are going to be completely restructured to finally stamp out chronic policy indecision. The key phrase here is result-oriented governance. It's all about shifting the state's entire operational culture from delays and excuses to actual action and accountability. Okay, let's look at Section 4, building roads and healthcare. This structured breakdown shows us exactly where the biggest chunks of development money are actually flowing. Roads and urban development are taking a huge lead with 286.48 billion rupees. Education is right on its heels with a massive 218.30 billion investment. Health is securing $101 billion, and drinking water gets a dedicated $37.17 billion. These are really the core foundational building blocks for a functioning, prosperous society. But beyond those billions, what does this actually look like for you and me? Well, we're talking about direct, tangible quality of life upgrades. Things like significantly safer commutes with these new blue buses equipped with CCTV specifically for women. In healthcare, the government is stepping up to provide free childhood cancer treatment at government hospitals, and they're pushing to manufacture 25 essential medicines domestically. Plus, they've set this massive mandate to get 90% of the population covered by health insurance within 3 years. That is a game changer. Finally, let's jump into Section 5, Nepal's digital frontier. To properly regulate and really champion financial technology, Nepal is setting up a brand new, dedicated fintech marketplace. And this will be under the direct supervision of the Nepal Rashtra Bank. It sends a very clear signal. The government doesn't just want to tolerate digital finance, they want to actively foster an ecosystem where it can thrive safely and officially. And here is a genuinely surprising, futuristic leap. The budget establishes the Matribhumi Kosh, or the Motherland Fund. This is brilliantly designed to tap into the massive talent and resources of the Nepali diaspora scattered all over the world. The ultimate goal? To fund and build a domestic artificial intelligence factory right in Nepal. They're even offering fellowships to lure international AI researchers back home. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we really have to ask ourselves, will these sweeping reforms, massive tax cuts, and bold digital leaps finally break the cycle of instability? Minister Wagle has laid out a 2.124 trillion rupee blueprint for economic revitalization. The vision is undeniably bold, but as we all know, execution is everything. So, what do you think? Is this the turning point for Nepal's economic prosperity? Think about it, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.